Whether you're with us live today on Zoom or on Facebook, we're going to have a great session, a lot we want to go through. As always, just for any of you listeners that are on Facebook, we won't be able to read your questions and see your interactions live and answer them. Unfortunately, we just don't have the skill set and the technology. So if you do want to get involved next week or at any other time, make sure you sign up and join us via Zoom. I have mentioned it before, but I don't think that we've done it and put in the sign up link for people to join in that. No, she's looking at me with a funny look. So obviously not. We will follow up later, or I think the registration link is all over the place. We've got it, jump on. I think it's even in the bio of our Facebook account. So do jump on that way if you prefer to join. Otherwise, we're happy to have you on Facebook. Just be aware that we won't be able to go through your questions live. All right, so let's get stuck into it. I want to run through this week's major themes, which are, let me share my screen. I always seem to have trouble with this, so hopefully this week it works. This week's theme, record price gap between houses and unit prices. What does that mean? Well, as we expect, when things get too expensive, people look for the alternate, and apartments are back coming into what people love and know about them and the reasons why they are there. We'll talk a lot about that. Inner city rents, we've talked about that a lot over the last 12 months. I think we've finally seen the stats from CoreLogic. They've bottomed out and are starting to stabilise. They're not going to come back tomorrow, but I think definitely, for those of you that are landlords in inner city Sydney or Melbourne, you've definitely been through the worst. And I think things are going to sort of stay stable and start to finally come back as we close out 2021. Home's top shopping list as Australia plans spending splurge. So economy is going far better than expected, and top of the list for most people is looking at buying houses. We talk about it every week. Clearance rates are through the roof, and I think that's one of the big drivers as to why we're seeing a better than expected economic recovery. Mortgage rates, again, we've mentioned this week after week, record low interest rates. Are they here to stay? Are they going up? Are they going to go below? What should you do to make sure that you've got the best rate possible? And expats, we have heard a lot in the media about the fact that, the lack of students, the lack of foreign buyers is impacting the market. 100% don't disagree with that. We see that firsthand. But I think what we have seen, partly reverse that trend is the number of Aussie expats that are looking at either coming back home or looking to grab a piece of Australia as they realise, if they don't jump in now, prices are going to run away from them again. All right, last weekend's auction results. What did we see? Another stellar week. Didn't quite get to be any Super Saturdays, which is more than 1,000 homes up for auction. And Sydney was the only state that continued its run of being over 80%. That being said, we're well over 75% here in Melbourne. So, again, phenomenal result. And ordinarily, if we did see something in the 70s, we'd be jumping for joy. It's just we've gotten so used to seeing the 80s that all of a sudden people start saying, oh, it's slowing down. I'll tell you this, it is not slowing down. It is going to continue to have this kind of momentum going through right until we close out 2021. I expect we're going to be constantly seeing it in the 70%, for at least the next 6 to 9 months. Pretty strong results all around. Obviously, as we know, the two largest markets are Sydney and Melbourne, but you're still seeing good results in Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth and Tasmania don't even register. So going through realestate.com and the weekly buyer demand report, pretty consistent trend here. This, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, is what we call a lead indicator. It's not based on any sort of real hard buy or sell sort of stats. It's really just prepared by realestate.com as to what they believe action is being taken within the site and what it means as to whether people are actually serious about wanting to buy or not. I think probably the biggest trend we can take from this is that we're seeing, pretty much if you look at the left graph, which is for Australia, you're seeing pretty much since the start of this calendar year, that red line has started to converge away from the blue line or the turquoise coloured line. The red line is for apartments. The blue line is for houses. So what we're starting to see is that more and more people more focused on looking at apartments rather than they are houses. I think we're going to go through that in a bit more detail, but I think that's well worth noticing. You can see for the rest of the time, they've been pretty consistent. Here in Victoria, you're not sort of seeing that spread between the two as much since Jan, but definitely if you're looking, I'm talking now in the right-hand graph, if you're looking at the last few weeks, you can see those lines have started to spread apart, which is very much on trend with what we're seeing and hearing on the ground. Rental, I don't really know how to interpret this graph other than I think, we can sort of again see that there is that trend starting to head back towards apartments. I think it was pretty clear. Everyone knows that, when the pandemic hit and coronavirus took a hold this time last year, we're all being told to spread apart, don't get close to people anymore. We still do it here in the office more because I like the separation from the guys, but everyone other than Greg, we're all here. I'm in one room by myself. Lucas is next door and Jack's just across the road. So, that was what was sort of happening. So, of course, we were going to see that a lot of people were thinking maybe I should move into a house, get a bit more separation. As things change and we get back to normal, as expected, we're seeing more and more people wanting to get back to the lifestyle that they're used to. So, for everyone, really setting the scene, I want to just make sure that everyone understands the point of today's session. It's all about helping you. This isn't a sales pitch from us. We're not trying to do anything other than assist you so that you can set yourself up. Now, what I want everyone to understand, is really the theme behind what we're doing here. So I asked this question, what is more important, information or knowledge? Who wants to answer that for all our listeners on the line?
I will do, James.
Okay, good. What is it?
Knowledge.
All right, good man. So knowledge. Now, if I unpack that, why do we say it's knowledge? Well, information is a collection of data, organized data, whatever it is. Knowledge is an understanding either through experience or education. So, it's not the information in itself that's important. It's the knowledge and the understanding of that information that gives you knowledge. And importantly, you're going to hear me talk a lot about this over today's session, is to create a database for yourself of actionable knowledge. So what I mean by that is take in all that information, understand whether it's important to you, get that knowledge, and then turn it into actionable knowledge. Now, what I mean by actionable knowledge is, when you see certain things, what should you be doing? So as simple as, if you see interest rates, fixed interest rates at 2%, that's a good idea for you to lock in. That might make sense for you. For others, they may not want to because they might be about to pay off their home loans. That doesn't make sense. So it's very much building up your own personal database of actionable knowledge. Now, it is very, very hard to do. And that's why we've got today's session. That's why I've been doing it for, guys, I feel like we're hitting almost 12 months now with these sessions. What are we thinking? Yeah. So, what we were constantly getting feedback from everyone out there, as well as some of our long-time people on the call today, is that, they read the paper, they look at Facebook, they jump on Google, they watch the nightly news, and everyone has conflicting opinions and stories about everything. And, what should they be listening to? What should they be doing? Well, for a time there, we said, just listen to us. Now, that is a little bit self-serving and self-fulfilling. I think that's a great option, but a lot of people are saying, yeah, you're just trying to sell me something. So, what we wanted to create was to help everyone out there understand that, anyone can put content on Facebook. Anyone can put content on Google. The TV stations, they pretty much got to sell advertising. So, they're looking for those headlines that jump out, and so do newspapers. So it's really important to be able to have a system to sift through all of that information, work out whether it's relevant, work out if it's from a credible source, and then determine what it means for you. So a classic example I hear people talking about is, oh yeah, I've been reading this article and it says that house prices are going to go down, so I shouldn't buy. Now that might be fine, but when they show me the article, they're thinking about buying a house in, inner city Melbourne, and the article is all about, a mining town in the top of Western Australia. Completely irrelevant and unrelated to what they're doing, but they just simply read that headline and said, I shouldn't do it. So that's what we're hoping today we can do, either by teaching you a system or simply you asking your questions of everyone on the panel that they can, decipher and help you understand. So that's enough chastising that I've been doing to you guys now for probably 10 minutes. So I really want to get stuck into today's session. If I forgot to introduce myself at the start or you guys are new, my name is James Maitland. I'm obviously hosting today's session. I'm the general manager here at Salvo, and I've helped create more than 11,000 homes for people just like you on the call. If you don't know who Salvo is and you've just sort of come across this through a referral from one of your friends, welcome. Thank you for trusting us. Look, Salvo, we do a lot of things. And, I could be here for another hour telling you all about our different businesses. But ultimately, we have one central goal across everything that we do, and that is to help create homes for people. So, whether that be, your first step looking to rent an apartment or a home for the first time, right through to you might be looking to buy your second or third investment property, that full spectrum, that's what we're all about. We can help you at every single step of the way. And ultimately, everything that we do is about helping create homes for people. So today, lucky enough to be joined by a great panel. They're going to be answering all of your questions. Put them under pressure. I love doing it every day. So make sure you ask them some tough questions. Greg Arbeck, Jack Jan, and Lucas Karras will be the panel for today. All right, if you're unsure as to how to get involved, again, this is only relevant for our listeners on Zoom and Facebook. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get involved at this stage. Two options. Put your question in the Q&A section. I'll read through them and I'll ask the panel of them. Alternatively, if you're brave enough, we haven't had anyone for a few weeks, be brave enough, raise your hand, I'll unmute you and you can start chatting with us live on the call in front of everyone. Don't worry, we won't embarrass you, don't stress, we will be gentle. But I'd love to have someone before we close out the next few weeks, come on live and ask us some questions. All right, so without further ado, let me stop sharing my screen. Everyone will come into full view. A lot of questions I've seen come through already on the Q&A. So I'm going to just start off with a question of mine, first of all. Apparently, I've heard for people like me that are scared of needles, that Pfizer have made out a vaccine that comes in a tablet form. Unrelated to today's session, but anyone can tell me that's true?
Yes. I actually I read it, saw it in the news. Sorry.
Good.
So Pfizer are going through now the trials. They're going to, of course, fast track this the same way they've done with the vaccinations. And they say if everything goes according to plan, they should be out on the market by end of year, before the end of the year. And so far, there's no side effects or anything. So they're very, very excited about this. And so am I.
Good. All right. Well, obvious segue from there is the economy. It's clearly been tracking far better than everyone expected 12 months ago, 6 months ago. Can someone give us a bit of an update? Where exactly are we? What's happened? Yeah, look,
the CBA Bank latest survey of consumer spending, they have found in the report the GDP growth of 4.7%. This has been revised from the original 4.4% for 2021, and also a further gain of 3.7% in 2022.
Okay, so that was a lot of stats. I think would it be fair just to say that we're going really, really well?
That's
much
right.
better than expected. Good.
Much
okay.
Better.
So obvious thing for everyone on the line. I think you'd have to be living under a rock if you weren't aware that house prices have been going up and up and up over the last, at least 6 months. But what are all these banks and what are these economists, sort of forecasting for the rest of the year, that perhaps the next 18, 24 months? Have they changed again? Are they up, down, or where are we seeing the latest sitting at?
They have changed again. It's become a bit boring to keep on saying this, but unfortunately, this is what's happening. Look, first of all, I think it's important to note that the unemployment is set to decline to 5% for this year and down to 4.7% in 2022. So consumers are very confident, and that's why we're seeing this sort of spending. So now coming back to your question, as the banks, the two major banks, the CBA and NAB, that released the report. CBA predicts a revised increase on the house price for this year. Now they're saying 8% growth, and for 2021, and 6% for 2022. The NAB predicts 14% this year, and they agree with the CBA that next year 6% is very is where they see the prices going up as well.
Okay, so historically, and I guess now, we always rely on the banks and their forecasts more than anyone else. What is it? What sort of data have they got that is giving them this confidence to sort of say that prices are going to keep going up?
Part of it was the unemployment figures that are getting better, but also look, I mean, for the month of March, both banks hit a record high new home loans. So based on the figures, based on the home loans they're writing, and based on the reports they're doing, they are seeing what's happening, and they can predict quite accurately the outcome. It's interesting to note, James, that first home buyers were leading the way, but now we're seeing the investors are trying to join in. Obviously, no overseas buyers yet, because as you know, with the travel restrictions, they're not there, but it's all local buyers. This is a real market. It's not people from overseas just, oh yeah, I've got some money, let me invest somewhere, something. So it's all real, locals living here and buying the product. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So a couple of questions came through as you were talking about, just talking sort of about interest rates and so forth. We've been mentioning for a while that we've got record low interest rates. What, can someone sort of give us a recap on where they're sitting and what we should sort of be expecting for the future?
Yes, James. I think everybody is love to talk in the current historical lower interest rate. And because this is this lower interest rate, we're saying the house value in Australia has increased the fastest step in the last 32 years. But the question is being asking for many people. They're saying, okay, are we reached the bottom of the lower interest rate now? The short answer is yes, which means afterwards the interest rate will go up, but the interest rate will go up after 2024, which is the time the Reserve Bank, they confirm they will not change the lower cash rate until 2024. So basically speaking, currently we reached the bottom of the lower interest rate. After 2024, it will be increased the interest rate.
Okay, so for all those callers on the line that perhaps are thinking, should they wait before buying a property or taking out a home loan because rates will go down? What you're saying is that's it. They've got as low as they're going to go. The only way is up.
This is the lowest you can get at. Currently, it's the best timing to secure lowest interest rate. That's why the reason we're saying lots of people, they're going to the fixed term mortgage rate rather than the variable, because we all knew traditionally Australian people, they prefer the variable, but currently based on the figures from the bank, the more than 20% of the total application of the mortgage are fixed rate. It only used to be the Australian people only not even 10% of the total mortgage application is only the fixed rate. Now, people prefer the fixed rate because they realize we cannot get in that lower interest rate anymore. So now let's fix it and we just avoid the risk in the future. The interest rate will go up. We take advantage now, get into the market now to secure this historical low interest, which has never been ever happened again.
Okay. All right, there's been a few questions I've just sort of been reading through while you were chatting through there. Seems to be a consistent theme here talking about, what about overseas buyers? What about foreign students and so forth coming back? I think, it's pretty clear to everyone that we know there's a bit of a hole in terms of the demand, both on the rental and the buy side from, these border closures. We've been forced in terms of students from a rental point of view, as well as foreign buyers. But there is a new type of foreign buyer. These expats that are living overseas have actually started to become a significant enough buying group that they've started to jump on the radar. So, why are we seeing all of a sudden these expats looking to to be buying again back in their home country?
Well, James, look, the expats, the interest from expats has exploded, to put it simply, and that is because they believe Australia is a safer place to live, given the containment and management of COVID and the way that our economy has rebounded so quickly.
Okay, and where are they all sort of coming from? I mean, you know, where are they living? You know, if that's why they're thinking about wanting to buy back here, are they wanting to move back here, or, you know, where are they living now that they're thinking about doing this?
Well, first of all, most of the expats that are buying into the market, they seem to be coming from New York, London, Hong Kong, and Singapore. A lot of them are coming back. So
typically
home.
Those expats have gone, and they're probably, you know, for me, I know, aside from the dream of Dubai pre-GFC, those sort of countries you mentioned is typically, you know, they've been chasing a significantly higher wage there. So they tend to be relatively well cashed up, it'd be fair to say, I think.
Correct. And also you got the difference in the currency as well, you know, so they're stronger. All of them happen to be pretty much all of them are stronger currency than ours as well. So they are getting not only the benefit of having a good income, but also when they turn it into Australian dollars, they seem to get a little bit more as well. Yeah. So look, they're sort of buying. A lot of them are coming back home, and I can give you some figures if you want, but either to come back, live, or to own a piece of the motherland for later on when they do eventually want to retire.
Yeah. Okay. So rents, you know, we talked a lot over the last few months, you know, that it's definitely been a tough time for rentals in and around the inner city areas of Melbourne and Sydney. What are we sort of seeing, you know, happening there? Have we hit the bottom? Where are things going?
James, it looks like, well, firstly, we definitely have hit the bottom. Yep. From the figures that CoreLogic is one of the main people that analyze data. They firstly, as we say, the inner city stuff, specifically Melbourne, were hit the hardest. With us, it was really tough because of the forced lockdown. So yeah, the rental market became very hard, but it seems to be stabilizing. Hit the bottom. Things are starting to look a lot better now.
Okay. I know we were talking about this the other week. I mean, I know you guys have been on the ground helping out our management team with leasing everyone's apartments. And, you know, I think everyone sort of talks about the students that were a large, you know, group of people that were renting the inner city apartments, particularly here in Melbourne. And I know the same in Sydney. And the fact that they've all been forced out of the country and the new intakes of them not coming in has left a significant gap in terms of the demand. But Greg, you were mentioning to me, I think it was this week or maybe last week, there's actually another group of, you know, people that were sort of forced through all this to disappear, but maybe they're starting to come back.
Well, absolutely. You got people that traditionally, pre-COVID, couldn't afford to live in the city because the rentals would be way above what they could afford. Mm-hmm. You're now looking at those people want that lifestyle, can now afford to live in a city in a great location, close to everything, close to work, close to all these sort of things. And we're finding a lot of the people we're meeting are people coming in from outside areas that would love to and can now take up that opportunity. So it's very big at the moment.
Yeah, okay. I think also another interesting thing that I sort of, I've heard from both you guys on the coalface as well as listening to all the guys in the back office going through, you know, we must lease, I don't know, what do you guys reckon, 20, 30 a week we put away? Yeah. And so, look, it's been interesting as well that if you listen to it, as Greg was sort of saying, you know, one of the groups that perhaps has been forgotten is that, you know, a lot of the people that rent in these inner city areas, you know, they're all long-term renters, but a lot of them worked in the hospitality sector, which, you know, has just been totally decimated by Corona, particularly here in Melbourne. And that's perhaps, you know, Greg, you know, would that be as bigger, you know, sort of renter group as the students, if not bigger, maybe?
Absolutely, because a lot of those people that work in that hospitality areas usually rent.
Yeah.
So typically during lockdowns and stuff like that, there was no activity in that sector. So we lost those people. Now with the activity returning into the CBD, there's a lot more activity. The hospitality industry is starting to thrive again. These people are back in the market, and these people are securing properties. So another big market for us. So people coming in from outside that traditionally couldn't afford, and now the hospitality sector is starting to get momentum again. So that's helping stabilize the rentals, and things will start slowly, will get better.
Yeah. So look, I think for everyone on the call that's wondering, what are we predicting? What are we expecting to see for inner city rents? I think there's no doubt that perhaps we've been through the worst. Definitely when the borders open up, the sort of state borders are open-ish, but everyone's still a little bit nervous about things. But particularly the international borders is going to help. But I think what Greg was talking about there is a very, very interesting point that's perhaps been overlooked, is that all of the young people that worked in these hospitality areas, the restaurants, the events, even just the footy. Like, we had a record crowd on the weekend for the Anzac Day clash between Greg's team and some other team that no one else is allowed to talk about here, that no one supports. But, the amount of staff that were involved in these kind of events just disappeared. And typically they're the younger group that, unlike, me and perhaps Greg, wouldn't go back at home with mum and dad. Lucas would love to get back with mum and dad because they'll do his washing, they'll cook for him, they'll treat him like a king, which unfortunately he says his wife doesn't believe in doing. She gives him a shopping list of things to do. Jack also is used to living with parents, but for most of these young people, they had that option to go back home with mum and dad when their income disappeared overnight. So what we saw was that the demand for inner city rentals, that group of rental pool of people, it just halved overnight. We saw the hospitality people just go back with mum and dad. We saw the students kicked out of the country and no new ones allowed to come in. And we saw that sort of people thinking, well, maybe I should move to regional Australia. That's definitely started to turn. But I think, slowly as we see the events starting to happen again, we're going to get more and more hospitality workers coming in. There's some pilot programs I've read about recently with some of the big universities trying to get some of their students back. This is all going to take time. And I think as they start to move through and get better and better, our vaccination rates are going to go up and up and up. Perhaps for India, we're not going to see any of those students coming back for a long time. But I think some of these other Asian countries that are, getting the vaccination rates up, I think Singapore, I was reading, is further ahead than we are. And we're going to start seeing those people come back. And I think for those long-suffering landlords, I am one of those. I've definitely seen my rents deteriorate significantly over the last 12 months. We're going to start seeing some of that growth come back in, and we're going to move from feeling to being long-suffering to start to get an upper hand. All right, enough about rentals. Perhaps if we can round out, I can see it's the top of the hour. Houses, apartments. I mentioned at the start of today's call that we've seen realestate.com has been sort of showing a consistent widening of the gap between people searching and looking for apartments versus houses. Completely flies in the face of the fact that, we're seeing a huge demand in people transacting on houses. But has that had any sort of flow-on effect as to where things might be going and what people should expect in the future?
Yeah, absolutely, James. I think we know that detached housing has gone berserk. So, and it's now reaching a point where it's actually becoming unaffordable for a lot of people. And some people, for instance, they look at the whole thing and they go, well, they can get into a property, but they're going to have to spend a fortune renovating because a lot of the properties that they're buying are very old. And there seems to be a definite swing to people going, well, hang on, apartments are still very affordable. Let's look at those options. And they're starting to see a trend. And there's a number of groups that are looking and saying, hey, let's re-look at that. So there appears to be a trend of people looking back at apartments. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, for those people that didn't quite get what Greg was saying, you've got that age-old thing that, you set your budget and you think, right, this is what I can afford, and prices start going up and your budget doesn't go up. You start looking further out, less desirable locations. You start looking for an old house, thinking I can buy it. Then you realize if I buy this, I've got to spend another couple of $100,000 renovating it to get it up to what I want. And before you know it, you don't have the money to do it.
Yep.
And so I think, that's turning people back to realizing perhaps, hey, now that, we're past Corona, yes, there was this whole stay away from people, don't get near, but perhaps that sense of community and the lifestyle and the locations afforded of apartments are far more appealing now than they were.
There's also a lot of people look at it and they go, well, hang on, if we buy into a new development, everything's done. It's brand new. Everything, you don't have anything to do. You have all the facilities. You're close to everything. And this applies to what they call the millennial people, all these youngsters that I can't stand, as you know. But millennials, first homers, and even Lucas has got a people that are downsizing are looking at that. Lucas can give an example of that.
Yeah. Look, exactly. Like we've seen people that have a big home.
Don't shy away from it. Tell everyone you just sold 4 apartments yesterday to one person.
But look, I've got somebody that had a house in Toorak, sold it, got a lot of money in this market, bought a very nice apartment, but also bought another apartment for income, just to have something, to increase in value, a retirement kind of plan. So we've seen a lot of people buying a property that they don't have a debt and also have enough money to buy another investment property and even money left over in some cases. So, one house equals 2-3 apartments.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, look, I have been trying to get through the questions. I feel like I've left a lot of questions unanswered. So if you're on the line and I haven't got to your question, I am just conscious that we've hit just past 3 o'clock, and I know I try to keep this session to between 30 and 40 minutes. And I just want to do a few closing comments. So if I haven't answered your question and you've got the opportunity and you've got the time, hang around. I'll make a few closing comments. Those of you that have got to go, feel free to go. Those of you that got more questions, we'll hang around for a bit. Just drop in your question again, wave your hand, whatever it is. And if we don't get a chance to get to you or you do have to go, I will read through the transcript after this session, and we'll try and get back to you with answers on your questions. So look, as I said, I just want to sort of target back into what I was saying at the start of today's session. We do this for you. The whole idea about this is that we found everyone's been saying they're really struggling in terms of understanding what everything means out there, because there is so much information out there. What does it mean for them? What should they be doing? And so, as I said at the start, and I laboured on the point, you've got to be able to take in that information and turn it into actionable knowledge. So what do you do from here? Pretty simple. I think you can continue to make no changes. Don't do anything. Maybe you didn't like what we said. Maybe you didn't like us. Maybe you don't believe us. And look, that's fine. We're not for everyone. I understand that. But I will just say this to you is that if you don't make a change, then don't expect to get a different outcome. So, time and time again, we have people come in and say, oh yeah, look, I'm looking for a place. You start chatting to them. Where's your budget? What are you after? And you find out they've been looking for 10 years. Let me tell you, if you've been looking for 10 years, that's about 9 3/4 years too long. You really need to be working in 90-day cycles. It shouldn't take you more than 90 days to find the right place. It may take you more cycles because you've got to readjust what you're doing. But if you're not making a change, you're going to continue to get the same result. So what I really hope that you do as a bare minimum is take on board what we've discussed. Join us again for another session if you need a bit more help, and take what we've said, think about it and go out there and do it yourself. So, think about those 90-day cycles, think about focusing in, think about looking big and macro and looking at real estate for the long term. But what I really, really hope you do is do something different. Take path B. Let us help you. As I said, we're not just a real estate agency. We're not just a real estate developer. We are about creating homes. So it doesn't matter where you are in that journey, what we love doing, and we can help you on any step of the way. And that's what we want to do. So how can we help you? There's a lot of ways that we can help, but I think the most logical next step for everyone on the call today is to have a one-on-one. So whether that be face-to-face, it can be virtual, it can be over the phone, whatever it is, what we'd love to do, and I've made sure that I've set aside time in everyone's diaries over the next 5 days. I've blocked them out just for these calls because I know a lot of people have sort of said, it's great, you got me all pumped and excited. and I tried to book in, and everyone was too busy to fit me in. I lost the excitement, and I've gone back to my old way of searching for the last 10 years. So I've set aside, I've dedicated the time just for you. So jump on, book these sessions. They're about 15 to 20 minutes only. They're short, they're sharp. And really, a typical sort of catch up like this would be, we'd have a good chat about, what you're doing, what you're thinking about, where the market's going in your area. Really, what are you hoping to achieve? What do you want? Is it just to buy your first investment property? Is it to get help managing your investment properties? You might be looking to sell a property, buy a new home, whatever it is. We talk about your sort of goals and desires. And then, we talk about what the next steps are. Can you be the right fit for us? Ultimately, as I said, not everyone is going to be the right fit for us. We might not be the right fit for you, and that's okay. Not everyone is going to be the right fit for us, and not everyone's going to like what we do. So, it's very much about finding that right fit. If you're comfortable with us, I'm really helping you along that journey. So I think it's well worth investing. You've invested, you've taken the first step by investing 30 minutes with us today. And the good news is, you've already done most of the hard work. The next thing is to really drill down into your personal circumstances. If you're unsure if it is for you, let me tell you, if you're still on the line now, 40 minutes into it, this is for you, because you can see the value in what we're doing, and you know what we're hoping to do. But, you've got to be focused. You've got to be motivated. You've got to be able to be prepared to do that work. As I said, you understand what I'm talking about when it comes to actionable knowledge and building that database. And ultimately, as I said, you've got to be able to take the actions, move forward, take in that information, process it into knowledge, and take those steps to get yourself going. There's no point in sort of coming back to us in a year's time and saying, oh, it didn't work, you didn't help me. What did you do? Well, I did nothing. You've got to help me help you, as they say. So how do you do it? If you haven't already noticed, there's a link in the chat. Jump on, book your session, grab some time right now. They do book out fast, so jump on, as I said. If you can't see that link, your browser page when you logged into this webinar, again, sorry for those of you on Facebook, you won't be able to see any of this. Jump on and you can book that link through there. Or lastly, if you don't have your diary with you, you're not sure of the times, or you just need a bit more time to think about it, we'll send you a follow-up email after this session ends, and it'll contain that link as well, so you can jump on and do it there. So look, that is it for today. As I said, it will be short, it's sharp. We do this every single Wednesday, 2:30, same place, same time, rain, hail or shine. We never take a break. As I said, we love doing it. We will have different guests on from time to time. So if you got value from today, every single week is different. We don't repeat the same stuff. So, you will get value to continue coming. I know that for a fact, because we continue to see familiar faces join us week after week, as well as many new faces. So from me and everyone on the panel, those of you that have got to go, thank you very much. I appreciate that there is a lot of things that you could be doing with your time. So I appreciate you spending the last 40 minutes with us. And I really hope that you got value from today and that you do join us again. So thank you again. And we hope to see you next week.